Wizard101 is a game that I played extensively in my childhood, primarily between the years of 6th grade to freshman year of high school. It certainly has some very creative elements for an MMO. It has some very enthralling worlds. The graphics and the artwork were definitely very well done. The voice acting, the voiceovers were superb given the budget and the type of game we're talking about, but I definitely feel as though on recollection, this game has some serious issues that are dishonest to the player base and to potential players, and I'm definitely going to be addressing those right here in this video. So the actual gameplay of Wizard 101, the way that the game progresses is completely fine. You go world to world, you complete all your quests, and you have quite a lot of content, especially given the membership. And I would make the argument that once you complete all the content, there isn't nearly as much replayability as, say, a game like Toontown, because really your end game is simply grinding for the gear, and then you just sit on the gear. There's absolutely nothing you can do with it unless you want to cheese people in PvP, and most of the gear you get isn't even always necessarily the best for PvP. So really, you're just kind of grinding to get an unfair advantage over other people in PvP, which is, in my opinion, a little boring, but at its core, the gameplay elements are fine, especially given the cost of the game. The biggest issue with Wizard 101 is not the early game content. Actually, I really enjoyed, I would say, the first four worlds, especially the game. I thought they were really well done. It was really compelling. I really enjoyed playing them as a kid. I was very interested in just getting through the content. I was really having a great time. And I think most new players will have a really great time with the early game content because it's very fun. But there are some serious issues that you cannot understand as a new player to this game that you will run into if you continue the game. And namely, these issues are, first of all, the artificial difficulty with inflated numbers that you just run into in the later worlds, where a large part of the difficulty is just things taking 5 times as long as they used to, and you're sitting in the same trash battle for 45 minutes, and also just a plethora of hitting costs that plague the entirety of the game, especially as it progresses later on. As you're leveling up your first character, these are some of the purchases you will be encouraged to make. So first of all, if you want to get a nice pet, having a nice pet is a monumental advantage. It gives you 15 universal resist. You can get like 33 attack damage, which is insane. You can get critical from your pet. You just get an insane amount of potential benefit from a pet. You can get healing. I mean, if you don't have a pet, you're just at a monumental disadvantage, especially in PvP. Even in some PvE, just is not as fluid. But you don't even try to PvP if you don't have a top end pet. And the cost of getting this pet is, we're not going to talk about the pet energy. You get baited into potentially paying for some of the pet energy every time you level if you want it to go faster. That's whatever. The biggest cost is that you either need to spend day after day farming for mega snacks, which very few people have the patience to do, or you can spend something like $40 USD to get a full set of evil magma peas. And then once you get those and you grow your garden, you have an unlimited supply of these mega snacks, which allow your pet to grow. So essentially, if you want to have a competitive pet remain competitive in the game, you need to spend at least $40. If you spend your money poorly and just buy the mega snack packs, you may find yourself out way even more money. So like, best case scenario, if you want a good pet, you're spending $40 on the game flat, as you're basically paying for what would be an expansion just to get a competitive pet in the game, and that's something you have no knowledge of starting the game. Additionally, if you want to make the game a lot easier for yourself while questing, you can buy a mastery amulet. I believe these cost somewhere around, I think they're over $30. I could be wrong. I think it's around $30. And again, these aren't required, but they're extremely encouraged, I would say. And you see other people walking around with the mastery amulets. You see the advantage of the amulet. It's just something in the back of your mind. It's like, am I at a disadvantage if I don't spend these $30 right now and get the mastery amulet? And if you actually ever make it to the late game, you find out the mastery amulet isn't actually necessarily the best in the game. But again, you're heavily incentivized to buy that while leveling, along with the crown's gear per level. Now again, this gear is easily replaceable, but you just are at such a monumental temporary advantage for buying the gear. It's a huge temptation. Each of the crown sets costs like $10 to $15, and you replace them every 5 levels. So you're just heavily encouraged to buy these new sets all the way leveling up if you're a new player. And again, it's not necessarily it's like on the border between hidden costs and just constantly having transactions shoved in your face. Because it is possible to circumvent all these transactions, but at what disadvantage and at what temptation? And then an even bigger issue, in my opinion, is the Pac System. It's basically straight up gambling. It feels like underage gambling to me. You're basically paying for a chance to get these items, and the chance is very low, and you just get baited into keeping on that train of buying more and more. I know when I was young, I spent something like a ridiculous amount of money. I don't even know the exact amount, but probably like close to $100 to try to get some dumb like mount or two to just constantly feeding in the money for these packs. And the system is very addictive, especially to kids, and it rewards on a system of random chance where it doesn't really matter how much you put in, and you'll just randomly get it once in a while. Just because you spent $100 doesn't mean you're any closer to getting the amount if you didn't get it to begin with. And it's just a very deceptive thing for someone who doesn't have a good understanding of statistics. And really, all of these pack systems do not give you on average anything close to the value of what you're paying. I think each pack costs like $3 or $4, and you probably get an average of like $1's worth of merchandise, with the occasional maybe getting like a $10 or $15 amount at most. And really, the system is very deceptive. It's very addictive. You see people just pouring insane amounts of money into them, myself included when I played it. I think it was a huge scam, and I think it was really something that should not be in a game for kids and is not appropriate to have in a game for kids. A gambling element such as that. I think that that game needs to be in at least a T game and above. It just seems a little inappropriate to have in a game marketed to children like age 10 and under even. And then another big issue is the bundle system. All these bundles that they sell are not even close to worth their value. You get basically a house, which isn't necessarily better than the ones you can get for free. Like the Red Barn Farm is probably a better house than most of the ones you get in the bundle because it'll actually make your plants grow and stuff. Like, honestly, you're really just paying for extremely replaceable content that is nothing special. And most of these bundles cost $35 and are a complete waste of money. And you're just encouraged to get each one in almost a collector-esque way of getting them. And they're not worth their money. It's just all the way through, you feel like you have all these obligations to buy external merchandise, and some of it just doesn't get your money's worth. Some of it actually does give you an advantage and is pay to win. But honestly, it doesn't matter. I don't think a game targeted to kids should have like 20 different layers of microtransactions embedded within it. And I think it's very inappropriate to have that situation. And I really would not recommend, if you're a parent watching this, to allow your kid to play Wizard 101 because they are going to 100%, I can guarantee you, the kid is going to be tempted to spend money on microtransactions, and the pattern never ends. If you pay once or twice, you're going to probably keep paying over and over again because they've got you at that point. So I would really say if you're going into this game, unless you want to spend or at least be tempted to constantly spend your money, I would really recommend playing a different game where you're not constantly being bombarded by these purchases. Like, honestly, I don't think Toontown Rewritten is that much worse of a game than Wizard 101. I think that you certainly don't get as much content, certainly not new content, but it's a free game. If you're looking for a young, casual MMO where you can maybe watch some TV while playing, why not play a game that's free instead of a game that has an expensive membership, I think $10, on top of a constant encouragement to pay for microtransactions? And again, this is just my opinion. If you feel differently in the comments, let me know. Subscribe, like the video if you enjoy it, and I'll put out some more videos for you guys soon. See you guys.